In a previous video, I explained the difference between absolute peace and absolute freedom. Absolute freedom means no laws at all. People can act however they want without restrictions. Absolute peace, on the other hand, is when there are so many laws that every possible situation is covered, telling people exactly how to behave. But here's the interesting part. Peace can be achieved in different ways. There's no single formula for peace because there are countless ways to regulate people's actions. Let's imagine peace as the graph of a function. The horizontal axis, in X, represents events like theft or assault. The vertical axis, Y, represents how strict the laws are, how society reacts to those events, whether there are punishments, and how severe they are. To make this simpler, think of each event as a small rectangle on the graph. The height of the rectangle shows how strict the law is for that event. The integral is just a way of adding up all these little pieces to find the total. Here's an example. Imagine a plot of land with a really irregular shape. To figure out its area, you could break it into tiny pieces, calculate the area of each piece, and then add them all together. That's what an integral does. It adds up all the small parts to give you the total. Now let's apply this idea to peace and freedom. Absolute freedom is a situation where the integral of the graph equals 0. That means for every event, X, there are no laws, Y equals 0. In other words, there are no restrictions at all, just complete freedom. Absolute peace would happen when both the number of events, X, and the strictness of laws, Y, increase infinitely. No matter how strict or lenient the laws are, the total sum, the integral, will always be infinite. This means that while there's only one model of absolute freedom, there are infinite models of absolute peace, each one with its own set of laws. In the real world, societies don't have absolute freedom or peace. We operate with a limited number of laws. To achieve a high level of peace, societies can take two different approaches. Create many laws that cover a wide range of events, but keep them relatively lenient. Create very strict laws, but apply them only to a small number of events. Both approaches could lead to the same level of peace, but the second approach, strict laws for a few events, often feels more oppressive. This happens because we, as humans, tend to focus on what we can see immediately, short-term effects. When a society enforces harsh punishments, even if only for a few events, people are more likely to see the government as authoritarian. Imagine you're in a classroom where the teacher's usually nice and lets everyone talk freely, doesn't mind if someone cheats or overlooks homework. But one day a student is caught talking too much, and the teacher gives them a big punishment, like expelling the student from school. Even though the teacher is usually lenient, everyone will remember that one big punishment and might start thinking the teacher's too harsh. Now imagine another teacher who isn't as harsh, but has many smaller rules. For example, this teacher gives warnings whenever students talk out of turn, don't do their homework, or even try to cheat. In both cases, the teacher is trying to maintain order, but the first teacher's big, noticeable punishment might feel harsher, even though the second teacher is actually enforcing rules more often, just in a less extreme way. This leads us to an important idea. The real challenge is finding the balance between peace and freedom. Building a system that increases peace without taking away too much freedom is not easy. Both peace and freedom are essential, and the key to a functional society is figuring out how to achieve both in harmony.